One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. It is Friday, June 1st, 2012. And as you all know, this weekend and the past few days, the Bilderberg group have been and will be meeting until Sunday. I believe tomorrow during the day, and tomorrow night is their last meetings, and then Sunday they start to depart. Some of them may play golf, but most of them will probably beat feet late tomorrow night into Sunday morning to beat the protesters, because they have been getting hammered out there. I want to give a big shout out to everybody out there that's been causing the New World Order indigestion this past few days. There, from what I have seen, at least a couple hundred every time I see somebody, walking around with their live stream on. And I've been keeping an eye on the Intel hubs. I've been keeping an eye on InfoWars, Luke Rudowski's, and Mark Dice's 4 streams, which, by the way, are all available on the same page over at federaljack.com if you want to watch anything that's going on. It's under Bilderberg 2012 Live. It's right at the top of the featured stories, and you can go watch what's been going on. And they've been harassing the hell out of them. Now, coming up second segment, I'm going to be having Shepard Ambellis joining me for the remainder of the first hour. We're going to be going over what's been going on, who they've seen, what he's been seeing on the ground. People have been getting arrested today over there. And yesterday they were able to get pictures. Shep was able to step out pretty much like right next to the vehicles and get photos as they were coming by. And he got pictures of a few people. And they've got more than a few, I should say. And they've got it listed up, the people that they know for sure who they are. They've got it listed with the photos posted over at the intelhub.com. And I asked on Wednesday if they had any foreigners or anybody coming into the Bilderberg meeting, and especially somebody from people from China, being that China has a ton of our debt. And 2 of the photos, right at the bottom, are you have 2 of them. It's of the same, obviously same person, just 2 different angles. Ying Fu, the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs from China, So there you go. You have the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs from China here. You have Director of Research and Senior Fellow at the John L. Thornton China Center, Brookings Institute, Cheng Li. He's rolling up in there. Anybody from the Brookings Institute, you should always keep your eye on. Another one of these groups. The chairman and CEO of AXA, France. I guess you'd pronounce his name Henri, so it's Henri de Castries or whatever, probably murdering his last name, not that I could care. Him and some blonde girl rolling up in there in a limo. You got Swedish banker and industrialist Jacob Wallenberg, who does not look very happy to be being photographed by Shepard. Kevin Warsh, visiting fellow at Stanford University's Hoover Institution and former Federal Reserve Board of Governors member. Alison Redford, Premier of Alberta, Canada. Why is the Premier of Alberta, Canada at the Bilderberg meeting, ladies and gentlemen? All the Canadians listening, you guys should take note. Alison Redford, Premier of Canada. I couldn't even try to pronounce this woman's last name. She's the current Minister of Finance of Finland. The current Minister of Finance of Finland. And Heather Reisman, founder and chief executive of the Canadian retail chain Indigo Books and Music. Today I saw video footage of people, the protesters were screaming that it was Kissinger, waiting to see the photos, still shots to verify it, but they said they saw Kissinger going in. So this isn't just some group of individuals getting together to have some, maybe a meal, some lunch, and a cup of coffee and just chat. That they're obviously setting policy. If you remember 4 years ago, Obama and Hillary Clinton went for a ride on an airplane around the same time that Bilderberg, in fact, at the same time that Bilderberg was taking place. And, let me rephrase that. They pretended to be on the airplane. They sent the press up in the airplane, and they went to the Bilderberg meeting. And there was it was at a meeting. It was a meeting at Clinton's house, and then it wasn't at one of the Clinton's properties, and all this other crap. So, of course, we know it's lies. Of course, we know they're breaking the Logan Act. I think it's awesome that there's a ton of people out there, different alternative media outlets coming together and working as one. Perhaps this will show some of the egocentric toolboxes out there that everybody can work together, hopefully. And if it doesn't, then whatever. But at least right now, everybody is working together. And I think that really should be the ultimate goal, is to everybody to work together and to defeat these New World Order scumbags. And they started to arrest people today for the most frivolous of things. Like one guy, he was walking down the sidewalk and there wasn't enough space, and he had to step out into the street for literally a half a second to get around somebody and get back up on the curb. And because he stepped out in the street, they said he was obstructing traffic, and they arrested him. I saw video footage. I have not seen it since. I only saw this one interview. Dan Dix was recording it from his phone, streaming it, and I haven't seen the video footage from Luke yet, but Luke was interviewing a guy who was detained, and he said he was forcefully vaccinated. He said they gave him a shot. I don't think that they gave him a shot. They probably more than likely drew blood, I'm sure they would keep it for DNA sample, but quote unquote, to see if he was intoxicated. And the reason I say that is because he said that when they were dragging him away, that they were screaming, something about him being intoxicated, sir, or whatever, which, that a lot of times it's just like, stop resisting, sir, stop resisting, as they're beating your skull in and you're not even doing anything. But that might have been done to back up their story. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe he was injected with something. I mean, that would be heinous too if he was. But that would be more of a story, I think, than anything else. That the guy was arrested at the Bilderberg meeting and, all of a sudden, injected with whatever. But I don't. when you sit and think about it, what would they inject him with? They told him if they didn't do it, whatever they did to him, they said if they didn't do it, that he would be in jail until his court date, which is in July. So I can't see on the books, considering forced vaccinations are, I know there's plans for them with martial law and stuff, but there are places that's against the law where you can't do forced vaccinations. So I just can't see how in a court of law this guy wouldn't win if he was vaccinated against his will. What would they need to give him a vaccine for or an injection of until the court date? Very questionable. I mean, who knows if they did do it? Maybe, the possibilities are endless why they would want to do it. But I think more than likely it was just a blood draw. So I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll find out. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in a few minutes. Break coming up. Shepard Ambellis and more. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and as promised, joining me now live from Chantilly, Virginia, is Shepard Ambellis, founder of the Intel Hub. And I have to say, a pretty brave individual because, as I said in the first segment, those photos that I was reading you the names off of, Shep was probably about 1.5 inches from the side of the vehicle when he was taking the photographs. I'm surprised they didn't just open the door and try to hit him. Shep, welcome to the show, brother.
Absolutely. Yeah, Popeye, it was pretty amazing. I was told by the crowd that I was literally, my feet were within inches of the vehicles at all times. At one point, I blocked the vehicle and they threatened my arrest, and I got the shot. Pretty eventful day. They had a 6-foot chain link fence erected around the front of the Westfield Marriott because they were planning on having a record attendance, I believe, for a Bilderberg meeting. There was a great turnout, 400 or 500 people today. However, there was a big monsoon thunderstorm, 3 inches of rain came down, so it got pretty wet. Some of our equipment got waterlogged. So at one point we had to pack up. We're getting stuff uploaded to the infohub.com right now. We're working on it. We had to go grab dinner at the steakhouse right here because we haven't ate pretty much all day. I know I grabbed something quick in the morning, just like a quick snack or something. And so, we've been going pretty much nonstop till 3:45 in the morning last night. Got back up, did it all over again today. This security was intensifying today. The Fairfax County Police were out in full force. They looked like they doubled up their force today. They appeared to be pretty docile in the beginning. They started bringing more barricades out, barricading it, and at one point I thought the bullhunters were almost breaking through to the police, and then about 6 police thugs bum rushed a 100-pound AFP reporter and body slammed her to the ground. We got that all captured on our YouTube channel. We're going to be uploading more articles about that and other events that happened. Another person was arrested for stepping out into the street for about 2 seconds. He was detained yesterday. An Iraqi war veteran was arrested and detained, and they took him to the police station, gave him an anal probing. They kind of roughed him up a bit and actually forcefully inoculated him. The story will be at the intelhub.com.
Yeah, I talked about that. I actually talked about that first segment. I saw the video where he was getting interviewed by Luke, and Dan Dix was streaming, and I saw that video, but it kind of cut off. Was he inoculated, or did they draw blood?
No, he was inoculated with a TB shot.
Oh, with a tuberculosis? Well, that I believe that is actually standard practice now. But pretty amazing how crazy that's getting. If you think about it, and how much this. Wow. We know they draw blood at checkpoints. We know, absolutely amazing what's going on with society today. That's just one example. But yeah, these Bilderbergers, man, they're in there planning. I would say we're seeing a spike in gold right now, and they could be talking about the crash of the dollar. There's a recent merger with the Rothschild and Rockefeller banking dynasty. They plan to buy up all the smaller banks, the ones that are crumbling, that they orchestrated from the financial crisis in the very beginning to begin with, Popeye, like you know. And now it looks like they're going to make one of their final maneuvers. They're also probably talking about who they're going to insert into the presidency.
and things of that nature. Also, probably depopulation might be on the table.
I understand Governor Mitch Daniels is there. Maybe they're thinking about giving him the VP nod?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are all in most of them are in violation of the Logan Act. These guys, another thing is, some of the photos we captured, you can tell they're arrogant. Some were scared. So it's hard to tell.
That one guy, Shep, he was looking at you through the window, and if laser beams could have come out of his eyes, they would have set you on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. I was told I got a shot today. I haven't reviewed the footage of one waving at me, so I could only imagine who it is. I really want to see it.
I heard Kissinger was spotted today.
Yeah, we got him on film. It's at theintelhub.com.
And I'm sure you heard about Jim Tucker, what he said his sources leaked yesterday. And I guess everybody found out last night at the bar, and it was released, last night into today, that apparently they want Ron Paul dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is another interesting roundabout story. I was talking with Webster Tarpley, and take it for what it is. He's just a pretty straightforward guy. He has a pretty strong, opinionated guy, but he makes a good point. This Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal, he also bought into Facebook, and this guy has also funded Ron Paul. Webster Tarpley speculates that Paul might have been used for a diversion, a screener for Romney to tie up some of the votes. These are some of the subjects that some of these reporters are talking about, so pretty interesting.
Yeah, I know Tarpley's not a huge fan of Ron Paul, so I don't discount anybody's take on anything. Again, I don't fall for that whole cult of personality thing. So
sure.
You never know. I mean, it could be. Last week, his son Rand pretty much endorsed Mitt Romney.
Exactly, and then you got to remember Paul's a Freemason, so this is interesting. I mean, I hope that. It's not, whatever, but...
no, I know what you mean. I hope it's not true, but...
Yeah, but it probably is. These guys are all probably two peas of the same pod, and at one point you have to wonder. That's why it's important that we get involved in government and we take our country back.
What's the feeling on the ground there? Like the grassroots level, people are people. Do you see that there's more? I know you've seen video footage from the past Bilderberg protests. Would you say that there's a lot of enthusiasm on the ground there to fight these dirtbags?
Absolutely. The crowd was just fired up. They were going ape all day. And they were really letting the Bilderbergers have it. At one time, I walked over because I kept hearing the bullhorns go off, and they were playing police sirens for the Bilderbergers, and I just had to go over there because AJ was around the corner, and then he interviewed me on InfoWars at the same time. But when I went over there, they were bullhorning the Bilderbergers, and they were saying, this is the unlawful assembly. The same things you heard on Police State 4. They were hitting the globalists back with. It was kind of comical.
Yeah, we need to get that recording that they play over the LRADs.
Yeah, it was like that, and they were just saying it, but they should have just played it from YouTube or something.
Right.
But it was a good moment.
Well, good. They need to be told that they're being watched. I think they're freaking out. I don't think they're happy because they like secrecy. And from what I've seen, there's at least, what would you say, Shep, a couple hundred people?
400 to 500. And there would have been more, but there was a monsoon today, or 3 inches of rain.
Yeah, I'm sure you can guess what people were saying about it raining all day. There was, at one point, I guess there was a tornado warning put out for the Washington, D.C.
We joked around that they were harping it up. Kitchener's in there.
That's what's
call
going
the harp. Yeah. Call the harp to the Bilderberg.
Yeah, that's what's going around. There's been a few comments. I wonder if they turned harp on to hit the Bilderberg protesters. You never know, but I doubt it. If anything, they probably just seeded the clouds with.
Well, one thing this is I have to say, I've been monitoring the weather on my iPhone for the last 2 weeks.
You know what,
and mysteriously enough...
Shep, I hear the break music coming up. I'm going to cut you off right there. We'll pick it up on the other side of the break. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. More with Shepard Ambellas from the Intel Hub. We are back with Shepard Ambellas from the IntelHub.com. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to check out Shepard's site. Yeah, I work with the Intel Hub. They're, you'll hear me promote them on air and read articles and stuff from them. Their site is like Federal Jack on crack, and that's because there's two of them working instead of just one person, me. So they're able to produce a bunch more stuff. And I got to say, you guys really hit the nail right on the head with your Bilderberg page. I mean, you guys have a ton of videos up there, Shep. And kudos to you guys for actually going out and covering it and doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. As you might know, we were linked to Drudge the other day. I thought it was interesting because when Alex Jones was walking up, when he was first on scene, he actually was plugging the Intel Hub and how we got mentioned on, or how we got linked to Drudge, and he said it was pretty exciting times. So I feel like it's a turning point for the alternative media. We're breaking through to the mainstream more and more. Matt Drudge linking to these criminals, exposing them, is a pretty big deal.
I think this just goes to show, Shep, that as the alternative media, we are now, as you and Alex like to say, dominating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And we demonstrated that. Another local alternative media group, or group out of Texas, Truth Exposed Radio, Mount Medina, Cody Hess, they actually walked into the local news station this morning, got it on film, and asked them why they weren't covering the Bilderberg meeting. And the local news station told them, it's of no interest. We've got bigger things to cover.
Right. Did you see Luke Rudowski's video release over the yesterday? He did like a 12-hour video release, one every hour. And
no, but I heard about it. What was it, Ted Turner?
Remember I told you I saw the video where he said, no, it's like 90% of people they want to kill. And I told people about it, and they said, I never seen the video. How come Luke hasn't released? And I said, he will in some future point. Well, he did.
Yeah.
And everybody that saw it was like, oh, my God, I got emails yesterday. My email box just exploded with emails yesterday. Wow, you weren't kidding. You really meant it. I'm like, what, you think I made it up?
Yeah, we don't make stuff up, Popeye. I mean, this is reality. So, absolutely, Popeye, my battery's going to die right now, and
no problem,
I got to go
Shep.
back in here.
I know you guys are out there, and you got barely any juice left.
Yeah, I got 3 more interviews to do, too, and I got to go charge this.
Are you guys going to be out on the ground tomorrow?
Maybe in the morning for a little bit, and then we're going back, but we're going to focus on we've got so much content for the whole time. The readers are going to be glued.
Well, plug everything one more time. Go ahead. Give yourself shameless plugs one more time before you go. Go.
Okay. Here it is. TheIntelHub.com. Go there. It's the civilian intelligence agency.
Good man, Shepard. I'll catch you later, man. Take it easy. Go get some food and relax. Thank you for a job well done.
Hey, thanks, brother.
Take it easy, Shep. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Shepard Ambellas from the Intel Hub. Now, I hope people take a cue from all the alternative media and the protesters went out there. I hope everybody out there takes a cue from them and says, you know what, if they can do it, they're just hundreds of feet from these globalist douchebags that think that they're God. So if they got the cojones to go out there and stand up to these people, then you should too. Do something. Start your own radio show. Start your own network. If you got money and you have the ability, go out and become a micro broadcaster. The alternative media is exploding. We are just growing at a massive rate. We are putting the mainstream dinosaur media to bed the way they belong. 6 feet under. And the only way that we can continue to do this is if everybody gets involved and stands up, because we don't have the backing of an MSNBC or a Fox News or an ABC. ABC's owned by Disney. Do you know how much money they have to produce false crap and try to get out there and reach people? And yet, they've closed offices. Excuse me, my throat's a little screwed up today. They've closed offices all over the country, and as CBS has too. And why? Because they're not making any money from those news offices. So they become a draw, and they become a burden, and they don't want that. They're not making the money because people, and why aren't they making the money? Because people aren't watching a lot of these mainstream outlets anymore. ABC, PBS, NBC, MSNBC, Fox, CNN, they're all crap. All of it is garbage. And yes, even PBS is garbage. You know, if PBS was really, public broadcasting, you'd have Earl from his garage doing a show. Just like Wayne's World or something like that. That would be a reality. You'd have more of that stuff. When you turned on your TV, you would have at least one or two channels where you would see local people doing local shows. You would have your local quote unquote media celebrities and stuff. Oh, that's Earl from the guy that sits on his couch, or whatever the hell the name of the show would be, or the character's name would be. For real. If you had real public broadcasting, you would hear Tim Watts and Joe Joseph. You'd hear, JJ. You'd hear Kurt. You'd hear Ken. You'd hear me. You'd hear all of this stuff. If there was real public broadcasting, but it's not. It's controlled. So yeah, PBS, they fail. CNN, come on, do I have to even tell you? I mean, like I said the other day, they hired, what's his name, Anthony Bourdain, to do a show on the weekends now. About what? I'm sure the guy's a great cook, but do you realize there'll be some disaster in 6 months from now, and they'll have him reporting live, telling you what he's, reading off a teleprompter or being told what to say, okay, and he'll do it. And what happens is he's already established a rapport with the listeners or the people watching because of his time as, the celebrity chef and on the Food Network and everything else. And he's going to read what he's supposed to read. It's about the cult of personality. They talked about this. You got to read Edward Bernays. I'm telling you, you got to, ladies and gentlemen, you got to pay attention to what these people are doing. That's why it's important to get involved and important to do something, because groups like this, the Bilderberg group, this meeting, you heard Shep talking about they're talking about what they're getting out of there so far, is they're talking about the economy. Obviously with the faltering worldwide economy, but the euro and everything else going on right now, that's a big thing that they're talking about. They're talking about, they've had a lot of these techies going in and out of there. So that internet freedom is going to be big on the agenda this year. Obviously, you heard Shep say that he talked to Tarpley. Some people have their own idea of whether or not Paul is just another red herring type thing. I haven't honestly made up my mind fully on that yet. I've seen some evidence to say that maybe he is, but I still kind of lean more that he's not, but that's neither here nor there. The facts would, you have to let facts take you where they go. But it is interesting that it has come out that they want him dead. The comments are, him and all of his cohorts, and of course this is paraphrased, but him and all of his cohorts, it'd be nice to put them on a one-way plane to Paris and have a suicide bomber man the plane and crash it and kill all of them. Now, if I said that about a politician, or if you said that about a politician, you would have the FBI, DHS, ATF, and every other agency, including the local sheriff, police department, and probably Brink Security or whoever, up your ass and kicking in your door with SWAT teams, dogs, missiles, bullets, hand grenades, gas, tanks, helicopters, and then maybe perhaps a C-130 Spectre gunship. Okay? But these people say things like that about a sitting congressman, okay? A man who, regardless of what you think, if he's some sort of Illuminati agent or whatever, or a Mason or whatever, his voting record stands for itself with, and he got called Dr. No for a reason. So it's important to pay attention to these things, ladies and gentlemen. It's just we must pay attention to these things. We must open our eyes, open our ears, and close our mouths. Try not to let our personal feelings or emotion or dogma lead us the wrong way. And again, if Ron Paul's a bad guy, then he's a bad guy, and the evidence will speak for itself. If he's a good guy, then the evidence, again, will speak for itself. I personally don't think he's, some sort of Illuminati, Freemason, super evil agent, but I could be wrong. I'm not perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break. Stay tuned. When we come back, mysterious cameras appearing in New York, and no one seems to know why. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to inform you that Jimmy X has now started a new thing here on Orion called Random Rebroads, and it runs from 1 a.m. to, I think, 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., something like that. I think it's 1 to 8. So you get 6 hours of any random Orion show. So it runs random. So it could be, 3 episodes of one particular show in a row. It could be 3 different ones, 2 in 1, whatever. But we're going to have random rebroads from 1 to 8. So tune in. You might hear an old show or a recently broadcast show that you missed. You never know. And don't forget to tune in from midnight to 1 a.m. Monday through Friday after WTF Joe's show and my show for Mae Brussel. She is kind enough to come back from the dead and do a show 5 days a week. The least we could do is tune in. And you might enjoy it. And you'd be surprised. A lot of the stuff she talks about, it's like going through a time capsule. And as you go through it, as you listen to it, a lot of the stuff that she talked about is now, positively documented fact. But back then, people might have thought she was crazy. So check that out. All right. Before we went to break, or as we were going to break, I was saying something about cameras that nobody knows anything about, right? Check this out and tell me how shady you think this is.
What is it? We're still wondering. You? Well, we're not alone. We are talking about those metal boxes attached to some utility poles in St. Lawrence County. They've got cameras in them. People are wondering who put them there and what they're being used for. Even those in the know aren't saying.
You can't tell us who the requester, who this contract is with?
I cannot.
The Border Patrol tells us it doesn't know anything about them, and we're still waiting for return calls from Homeland Security. But people are posting plenty of thoughts about them on our Facebook page.
So in New York State, these cameras that nobody knows, they're in these boxes, these, grayish, khaki-colored boxes up on poles with cameras situated on the roadway, right, facing certain directions. Border Patrol claims to know nothing about them. Now, this happens a lot where one government agency doesn't know what another government agency is doing. But when they called I think it was said National Grid, so I'm assuming that's a phone provider or cable provider or probably maybe the electric company, whatever. They called probably people that own the poles, which would probably be the electric company. And when they spoke to them, the woman said, "I can't tell you." Well, gee, that answers my question. If you can't tell me, the only people with the power to, for you to say, "I can't tell you," would have to be the federal government. Or why else wouldn't she be able to tell you? National security. So there you go. Mysterious boxes with cameras on them just appearing out of nowhere. And I'm doing air quotes when I say nowhere, please. Okay, out of nowhere on utility poles in New York State. Now, we all know that there's cameras. I've reported about it. There's cameras down here all over Florida. They're pretty much whatever direction you come up to a traffic light, there's a camera on the pole facing, each lane of traffic. So when you come up, you're being recorded. And then with facial recognition software, I'm sure if they had to, they could pull it up. All the time people are convicted in court of being, near a murder or whatever because they were able to look it up. That stuff does happen. Not as often as you would, maybe perhaps be led to believe watching some crap like CSI or something like that. But nonetheless, it does happen. And people are locked up and caught or whatever or arrested because of regular CCTV cameras being all over the place. And of course, you're told that it's for your best interest, that it's in your best interest that you go and you be watched. And it does not matter whether or not you believe in it or not. It does not matter whether or not you don't like being watched and having somebody look over your shoulder everywhere you go. Doesn't matter. What's the matter? You don't want to be watched in the bathroom? What's the problem with that? You must have something to hide. Because if you didn't have anything to hide, then you wouldn't care if I watched you, take a crap. Or you wouldn't care if I watched your wife undress or your teenage daughter undress. What do you care if I feel her up? You've got nothing to hide. If you're not a terrorist, what do you care? I'll tell you why I care. Because you're violating my personal freedom. You're violating my liberty. You're violating the liberty of others. It is unconstitutional, and it is against natural law. And I don't need a piece of paper to tell me that violating my natural law or somebody else's natural law is wrong. I understand that. I quit working as a private investigator because of my morals. Okay, well, at least doing certain jobs. I was only limited. I limited myself drastically in the PI field, I should say, because of my refusal to do certain things based on moral grounds. I wouldn't lie. I wouldn't follow people around that were that put in insurance claims and lie about them, basically. My one boss told me that I had a responsibility to the customer to give them material. And I said to him, well, I won't lie if the person's really disabled and they're not running around faking it. I'm not going to lie and say they were. And he said, well, you have to give them something because they don't pay for nothing. I said, well, if there is nothing to report, then I just report that the person is, really injured. And they didn't like that because the insurance companies would say, well, that's not what we're paying you for. So because they expected something, even if it was a 3-page report, I would write up reports, just long-winded reports, so that it wouldn't be an issue. But when they would read it, they would still say, well, there's nothing. You're saying this person's not doing anything. I said, well, they're not. They're really injured. They're not trying to game the system. Well, a lot of times they didn't like that, and they wanted me to lie and say, no, I caught them doing this or caught them doing that, and I wouldn't do it. So to the cost of about $5,000, I limited myself to what I could do in the private investigation field, and I actually lost a job over it. But it was worth it because at the end of the day, I can still sleep at night knowing that I didn't sell out these people that were really injured for a couple bucks. I didn't go that route, so I can at least sleep at night. I myself have issues and injuries to deal with and that I'm working through and trying to get past and get over. So I know how it feels to go through that. You have to put yourself in this position where you look at things like that. And when I say you have to, I know people don't like to hear that. They don't like to be told, oh, I must do anything. But you really should. You have to look at things from that perspective. You have to look at things with some sort of morality. Or else you're going to end up doing like what the NYPD does, just beating protesters in the head because, hey, you don't like liberal, dirty, commie hippies. You know what? Not every Occupy protester is a quote-unquote commie. Some of them are really just, pissed off people who are genuinely angry. What are you supposed to do about them? You're going to, But you have to look at things. You have to take a step back. I used to be one of these people, and I'll tell you this from personal experience. We'll have a little fireside chat because next hour I got a representative, one of the volunteers from Architects and Engineers for 911Truth coming on. So we'll have a little chat really quick. Okay, I used to be in the rat race. I used to run around at 9,000 miles an hour all over the place and never have time for anything and never had time to, I wish I had time, but I don't. You don't understand. I got to work, blah, blah. Well, my injuries actually sidelined me from doing a lot of stuff, and it forced me to slow down. And you know what? I used to hate myself because of my injuries, and I used to loathe myself, and I couldn't deal with it. It used to bother me so much because I was, I couldn't do what I was forced, what I used to do. I was forced to now slow down. And then I realized later on that it was actually a gift that was given to me because I slowed down. I woke up. I had time to actually sit back and do some reading. And who knows, maybe I would have fully woken up later on down the road. But it was an opportunity that was presented to me. So sometimes life throws curveballs at you, but it's not that bad in the long run. It actually ends up being for a better reason, and it ends up bettering you in the long run, even if you don't realize it. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Some people... so I think some people need a little bit of a pep talk. I think you need to look at things from a different set of eyes. If you're if you're running around, I'm stressed out, I don't have time to blah, 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 Popeye, you don't understand. I do. Just try to take a step back for like 20 minutes and try to look at things with a different viewpoint. Look at things through, morality, humanity. I'm telling you, I used to be the same way. Oh, screw them, drop bombs, blah, 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 blah. I'm telling you, you take a step back, you slow down a little bit, you pull your head out of your ass. It's amazing what you see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm done ranting for this evening. When we come back, hour number 2, I have a volunteer for Architects and Engineers for 911Truth. Find out why they're being banned from Netroots this year. Even I don't know. I'm interested myself. All right, we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 on tonight's edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. Man, time is just flying by today. First hour just, right through. Last segment, I ranted a bit on you. Didn't mean to make your ears bleed. If I did, I hope I made a little bit of sense, as I always try to. Hour number 2, ladies and gentlemen, I want to get into it as I promised. I have a volunteer from Architects and Engineers for 911Truth, and they are being banned from Netroots this year, which I guess you could say at the least is a bit odd. And I think it needs to be covered because at a very base level, it is at least censorship, because obviously they don't want what they talk about, which is nothing more than science. So I don't understand why anybody wouldn't want to talk about it. It's not like Architects and Engineers runs around saying Illuminati or anything like that. They just talk pure science and nothing more. But see, people don't like truth, so they try to censor it. And that's what at least I see this as. So let me get right into it and bring my guest on tonight. Wayne, are you with me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit to the audience and tell them about what you do with Architects and Engineers, and then let's get into the censorship of you guys from Netroots.
Okay, well, thank you very much. But so my name's Wayne, and I've been involved with Architects and Engineers at a fairly involved level for probably about 3 years. I'm a registered professional engineer myself, and I'm very glad to be able to support this group, AE911Truth, in any way I can. Now, about 3 years ago, when I joined, I became involved with the Congressional Outreach Team, and we worked on trying to get the letters through to members of Congress, things like that. I've also been on the presenters team, and so I've given a number of presentations. I do that from time to time. And then there's any number of other activities that I've been involved with. I've done a fair amount of outreach with different organizations and in different places. But I find it is really important to for me to be involved with AE911Truth because it is a very important task to try to highlight at least the question, why don't people know that there's nearly 2,000 architects and engineers calling for new investigation into the destruction of the three World Trade Center buildings? That, to me, is really one of the key issues. The reason that people don't know about it is because it's completely banned from a polite discussion and from the media, and so that's one of the reasons why AE911Truth has been so really important, because it brings a way of having the conversation in general society. And as a result, we've tried in a number of ways to try to bring our message to various venues, and sometimes we have more success than others. And so this year, one of the things that we tried to do is get a table, an exhibit booth at Netroots Nation. Netroots Nation is a spin-off of the Daily Coast show, or Daily Coast blog, and it is a blog where even mentioning 9/11 is not really even allowed, and that's a pretty strong policy that they actually have. And so we try to get into Netroots Nation with this, just asking for an exhibit table. Now, this is not just can we set up a table in the hallway. It's a pretty big deal, and they charge $1,000 for the booth. And as a result, it took a little bit of gnashing of teeth to come up with the do we really want to do this? And so we applied, and we were effectively turned down. And it was pretty fascinating, the whole process.
Did they say why you were turned down? Did they come back with a reason, or did they just said no?
Well, that's a good question. The actual answer is that the actual answer is that they passed it by their political committee, and they decided that we weren't going to be invited in. That was basically the nutshell as to why, all we know about why they don't want us there.
So, quote unquote, politics is behind this?
Well, whether or not it's politics, Netroots Nation is a very, very political organization. It is an association of bloggers and activists who are, and the purpose of this is to bring them all together and kind of train them on how to be a good activist. And they tend to have a very strong Democratic Party orientation to it, to the point where they bring many. Expect in the next week, I'm going to see a lot of candidates for the for different offices, and I expect that they're mostly going to be running for the Democratic Party. So it's a really politically correct type organization, and they really have kind of a mission of nurturing activists, and especially with the interests aligned with those of many of the candidates. And so I thought that one of the hallmarks of most activists is trying to get their message out, to be able to tell the truth, and because people don't like to, telling lies and mistruths and half-truths is not really something a lot of activists really try to do, I don't think. They may have their own different perspectives on it.
You know what I find really, I wouldn't say disheartening, I find it disgusting, is how a lot of the anti-war, quote-unquote, liberal or Democrat people or groups, supported 9/11 Truth before when Bush was in office, but as soon as Obama got in, a lot of that fell by the wayside. A lot, the same way a lot of the anti-war sentiment fell by the wayside because all of a sudden it was, well, there's a Democrat guy in office and we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to make a Democrat look bad. That politics, whether it's people, it doesn't always have to be people. For nefarious reasons or some sort of conspiracy. It could just be it could be as simple as somebody's own political view. They don't want to go against the status quo because they buy into that. And bam, you guys, obviously, it doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican, aren't spewing, or I shouldn't say, let me rephrase that, aren't speaking anything but the truth. They're spewing nothing but lies, and they can't have you going in there because can you imagine having an architects and engineers for 911Truth booth in there? I mean, honestly, you guys, there are a lot of people that wake up to 9/11 for many different reasons, whether it's a conspiracy theorist end or whatever. But when it comes down to the science, there's a lot of people that aren't swayed by anything. And I got to tell you, when they do realize that there's more than 2,000 architects and engineers that say no. This is not accurate. This did not happen this way. Simple math, 3 buildings, 2 planes does not add up. It's as simple as that. And you guys, Richard Gage and the rest of you guys have a great way of presenting it and getting it out there scientifically. All right, Wayne, we're going to break. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. More when we come back. Architects and engineers for 9/11Truth, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to wake somebody up, and that they're not going to wake up any other way. If there's somebody that needs hardcore scientific proof, architects and engineers for 9/11Truth. If there's someone that doesn't believe any of this stuff, and they want you to provide them with truth, you show me the proof. Where scientifically, where can I find it? Architects and engineers for 9/11Truth. Okay, I've supported them for years. I've given them free banner space on federaljack.com for years for a reason. I made a video back in the day a while ago. I purchased the postcards from them, and I went out and I sent out, I think it was like 30 or 40 postcards to different people, media personalities and stuff like that. They were the architects and engineers, with the information about Building 7 and everything. Sent them out, did a video, inspired others to do the same. So I support architects and engineers for 9/11Truth. And tonight I'm talking with Wayne, who's a volunteer. And he's been telling us, the last segment we were going over how Netroots pretty much said, nope, want nothing to do with you. That's turning away $1,000. So obviously that shows that it's about censorship. That's all that's about is censorship because they don't like what they're saying. They don't like the fact that they're saying, hey, look, scientifically the official story is impossible, and that goes across party lines, whether it's Republican or Democrat, and that's mutually hated by the establishment on both sides. Wayne, you guys had another recent event though where it was a different, outcome. You guys actually were able to pull the event off, and I guess it went well, correct?
Well, yes. I started to mention another one that we had done, and that was in March. There was the United National Anti-War Conference was held here in Connecticut, and so they allowed 9/11Truth people to rent that have tables, and they're quite affordable there. They're only like $50 or something like that. So one of my local groups decided to do it and distributed a lot of AE911Truth material. Now, one of the things that we wanted to do was have a bigger presence. And so being a little bit on the guerrilla tactics side here, what we decided to do was to spend a little extra money, and we rented the boardroom, which is a large conference room, a relatively large conference room, right in the middle of this convention hall. What that would allow us to do is be able to do some screenings of the video the documentary that is being released, and that's the Experts Speak Out. So we were able to have that going in a conference room, and then on the outside we were able to put up some of our banners, because we had made a contract with the hotel for the room, and that entitled us to having some space on the outside. And so the banners we had were ones that described the collapse of Building 7, and another one that talked about the forensic engineering related to the red-gray chips that are incendiaries. And so as part of this larger package, we also did a survey. We randomly went up to people, trying to be as non-selective as possible, and asked them to fill out a survey that was about 13 questions. And it'll be summarized on the AE911Truth website, probably within the next month. There's a summary that's just been posted about this event, but it doesn't have the details of the survey. It's got some high-level findings and things like that. But as part of this, we found out that, well, let me just kind of give you the kind of an overview here. We came up with 5 different points, and from the survey, we got about 65 responses out of 500 people, so it's about a 15% sample, which is quite large. And what we found out was that many of the respondents were unaware of significant basic facts. For example, when asked about specific major points of evidence, about 35 to 45% of the respondents were either uncertain or did not answer the question, and only a tiny percentage disagreed with the evidence that we've been talking about. So most people were either with us or didn't know. There was another statistic that about 90% of the people agreed that the story and what happened on 9/11 is relevant to today's anti-war movement. So 90% agreed that it's an important story. In a related question, 90% disagreed with its mirror statement that says 9/11 was a long time ago, and it no longer has any influence over today's political environment. So those two are very consistent. It was important, and it's asked about it, whether it's too far in the past, they say no. About half the respondents did not think that raising the destruction of the World Trade Center towers by means of controlled demolition detracted from other pressing issues. So that's about half said that it doesn't detract from the other issues that are the anti-war, war in Syria, war in Iran, war in Iraq, all that stuff. 1/4 was unsure, and 1/4 thought that, yes, indeed, it did detract from the other issues. It was really detracting from it. And then 2/3 of the respondents thought that the criminal acts of 9/11 were perpetrated by more than only the Islamic fundamentalists. So they said someone else is involved. 1/4 were uncertain, and only a small segment agreed with the official indictment of the Islamic fundamentalists as the only criminals. So the anti-war crowd is typically a pretty savvy group, and so this is not unexpected. But by doing the survey, we now have some hard evidence or hard statistics that we can kind of present. Now, the leadership, however, is of the United Anti-War Convention. Has always been, them and their predecessor organizations, even under the Republicans, were not very vocal about 9/11. So, and for example, one of the representatives who's been very influential runs a Middle East Crisis Center, and has videos, weekly video shows across the Northeast. He came up when we were talking about a 9/11 resolution in the plenary session, that 9/11 is a waste of time because we have wars to stop. And then in one of the private communications we had with one of the other organizers, it said, and this is a quote from an email: majority of those in attendance simply do not buy 9/11 Truth and do not want it made part of their political program. We, the leadership, cannot make people vote yes to the resolutions, which were turned down, or they were prevented from being voted on. The anti-war program, as they see, the anti-war program that they see as false and harmful.
Wayne, I'm going to cut you off right there because the break's coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. I have another 30 minutes with Wayne, and those are actually interesting statistics among the anti-war crowd. I would have thought that it would have been more than 50%, but I'm glad that it was only about a quarter that thought it wasted actual time. All right, we're going to break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, during the break, Wayne and I were having an interesting conversation, and he said, you should say this stuff on air, and I agree. So I'll kind of recap it a little bit. We were just discussing how I think one of the biggest problems with people waking up is the fact that a lot of people, they still buy into this left-right paradigm. And if you buy into that, then it's going to be really hard for you to believe that your government would do that, because you buy into that. But when it comes to the quote-unquote liberals, it's just astonishing to me how they could believe that, yes, we could kill 1 million Iraqi people based on lies, but 3,000 American citizens getting killed by their own government is just out of the question. So it goes to show you that there's, some level of dogma, whether it's religious or political, whatever, that blocks their view. And I also agree that it's important, and I say this all the time, that we need to continue to investigate 9/11 and push others in the general public, push the mainstream media, which they won't do, but push them anyway, even if they make fun of you. I think we need to stand out there and push for a new investigation. Actually, the new investigation's already been done. We just need to push the results of the new investigation, which has already been done independently, which has been done by all these multiple investigators over the years, including groups like Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. And this stuff is important. And why is it important 10 years later? Who really cares? There's wars going on right now, Popeye. Well, it's important because these wars are based off of this myth. And this myth helps push this religious myth that all Muslims want to kill all Christians, and that if we don't kill all the Muslims, it's they're going to come over here with terror babies and blow everything up, and it's ridiculous. Okay, so if we can get rid of this, if we can prove that that's a lie and prove that it was done for nefarious reasons, okay, then a lot of the things that have been done in the name of 9/11 can also be reversed and fixed to the best of our ability. And then we have to start making atonement for things like Iraq and other things. But I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent. Wayne, what say you?
Well, I agree with many of the things that you say. But the reason I think that 9/11 is really important and why we need to push for a new investigation, actually, probably the most important thing is that it uncovers the fact that something is really, really wrong in the way that we get news, and that affects the news we get about the wars and everything like that. Let me just, one of the things that when you get involved with something as much as I do, you have to be able to tell why you do things. And I tell people I have 4 reasons for being so involved. First is I'm a witness to a mass murder in which the person who pushed the button is still out there. Secondly, I'm an engineer, and when you take a look at these buildings and they're collapsing, you say, "Oh no, that's just gravity." That's what you would expect. That's on the front to me as an engineer. The third reason I do this is there's a greatly villainized community in this country, and that's the Muslim community, as you rightly pointed out. And all I ever say is that the story is much deeper. And the last reason is really the most important one is that if this story can be hidden in plain sight, what else is being missed? What else is not being reported? What else is being distorted? So again, if this can be hidden in plain sight, what else aren't you missing? Are you missing? So that's the probably the most important thing is kind of a wake-up call that it is the prime example of something is really, really wrong. It's irrefutable once you look at it. How did that Building 7 collapse? Well, gee, it's falling nice and symmetrical, and you got to see it in video. Nice and symmetrical. Oops. And that's because there was a fire in one corner that heated up a girder that expanded it, pushed it against a couple plates, broke a couple of bolts. Column 79 was unsupported. It kind of went out of plumb, and then like the whole building, the whole block fell down. In free fall? No, something else had to happen. So everything was wrong, and that's kind of the key message. If you listen to the news, Federal Jack, I guess, gives a whole lot better perspective on everything than Fox News and the Wall Street Journal and all the other news from the other 5 corporations that control 90% of the news that is out there in the rest of the world that your friends get to see. So I guess what I had done, those are my reasons for doing this, and I've done a lot of outreach, and the one of the things that we had developed for this UNAC convention was a cartoon. Unfortunately, I can't describe it really adequately over the radio here, but basically it's you can see a bunch of people protesting in a room, and there's a rug in the middle of the room, and under the rug is obviously a monster, and on the tail it's got the letters 9/11, and it goes something like this. The monster under the rug says, "Go ahead and protest. I come out at night. My wars eat your children. I steal your money. I whisper in your ear that the Mexican housekeeper does it. Best of all, you refuse to see me, even when I came out on 9/11. Go ahead and protest. I will just swallow you all up." And that was kind of a nice little cartoon. I thought it was really powerful, and other people thought it was too. But we developed that for a little bit of outreach at this UNAC conference. Now, I want to get back to the Netroots Nation discussion that we were having a little bit earlier, and I want to kind of give a little more frame for it. We were turned down. We were trying to, in fact, get a table at the event, and that would have given us some position on their website that would have been in the brochure that everyone would have gotten, and it would have given us some level of visibility, something that we don't get. But we were not surprised, actually, that we were turned down because it's happened before when we tried to get into places. But because we know that they have to basically turn us down for full formal reasons, that gives us a great opportunity to do a little bit of outreach. And so we've developed a campaign called Let the Architects In. And so we have a website. It's called architects in.org. So let the architects in.org with the dashes between the letters. And what it does is it describes a lot of the some of the correspondence, some of the issues, and basically it just says we want to have a table, we want to be able to talk, and then as part of this message, what we had identified was that the founders of Netroots, Marcos, I don't call his last name, but that's why it's the Daily Pose. Because of that, he had he had established a policy in 2005 that because apparently the discussions were getting so heated, he said no more talking about 9/11. And if you go up to the Coastopedia, it says controversial 9/11 diaries is a topic. Says Daily Kos accepts that 9/11 attacks were perpetrated by agents of Al Qaeda. It is forbidden to write diaries that refer. I guess the government did it. I don't think that's the important part. And the second one, refer to claims that the airplanes that crashed in the World Trade Center, Pentagon, were not the cause of the damage of those buildings or their subsequent collapse. Authoring or recommending these diaries may result in banning from Daily Kos, right? So they, in 2005, they set this policy up. Now, it's a privately run organization, so they can do what they want. But that's a really strong censorship statement. So what we did is,
it's an odd one, Wayne, coming from someone that would consider themselves to be a quote-unquote media outlet. I'm going to cut you I'm going to cut you off right there because we have a break coming up. So stay right there, Wayne. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Final segment coming up. Stay with us. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment. And as you all know, I like to take the first few seconds of the final segment and tell you all thank you for listening. You guys are all an integral part of this mission. And if it were not for you listening and telling others to listen, the word would not be spread. So in the future, when you're sitting down with your grandkids telling them the story of how we saved the world, you can be proud that you were a big part in it. And I want to thank my guest, Wayne, for putting his neck out there and having the courage to speak 9/11 Truth and go out there and help architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. And I hope he serves as an example to other engineers out there that might be afraid to step up. Like they've seen the evidence, but maybe they don't want to join architects and engineers because they're afraid, of politics on either end. I hope Wayne and the rest of the gentlemen and ladies over there at Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth serve as an example to you all. And Wayne, you were finishing up. You were finishing up with a few things as we were going into break, and then I know you wanted to discuss the upcoming or ongoing tour, I should say, that you guys have going on right now. And if you wanted to throw out a few upcoming stop tour dates, you could do so as well. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
Well, before I do that, let me just conclude a little bit about the Netroots Nation. The kind of the outreach that we're envisioning doing there is to do another survey so that we can get sampling, so we can tell the people who are putting it on what their audience actually thinks. And then secondly, we're going to be having a table out in front of the but there's two hotels, so it'll be kind of between there. That's the plan. And then we're thinking of having a bicycle dragging a marquee, a little bicycle advertising. It's got to be green, so it'll get the blogging juices going for the activists. That'll basically promote let the architects in and provide a kind of a single motif for the outreach, which is let the architects in and have our website and stuff like that. We're also gathering signatures and support from some progressive people that should be have some credibility with the organizers. So that's kind of what we're looking to do there. And if anyone's in Providence and wants to help out, go to the AE911Truth.org website and say, I'd like to help. And if you want to go to the Netroots Nation Facebook page, you can go there and just put in a simple statement saying that you support AE911Truth having a table at the convention. We don't need to go through the dialogue as the evidence and all that stuff. Just we should have a place there. That's where we'd like to keep it. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about was is a 30-city tour that Richard Gage and Architects and Engineers is putting on so that we can have a nationwide series of showings of 9/11 explosive evidence, experts speak out, 43 structural engineers, high-rise architects, firefighters, fire protection engineers, chemists, physicists, and then concluding with segments with psychologists and therapists talking about why this is such a hard message to hear. That's going to be going through a whole a bunch of cities. It's moving its way eastward. It's going to be hitting Denver, I think today. Then we're going to Austin, Minneapolis, Madison, Wisconsin, Detroit, Buffalo. And then we hit a number of cities in New England here, Providence, which is going to be at the very tail end of the Netroots Nation. It's not part of the Netroots Nation, but boy, it sure is tacked right onto the end of it. Then there's Portland, Maine, Burlington, Vermont, southern New Hampshire, West Hartford, Connecticut, and then Boston, and then it moves on to Washington, D.C., to New York for 2 different showings. And that's on June 24th. Then it's Philadelphia. Then it's down to Florida, Dallas Park and Daytona Beach. And then there may be another one in there someplace, possibly in Kansas. And then the next one that's scheduled is Bozeman, Montana. And then it ends up in San Francisco. And there may be a few others. You can go onto the AE911Truth.org website, and you can go there and see the venues that are listed there. And you can buy tickets. They're about $10 a piece. It's a great donation. So I encourage you all to go see this. I actually haven't seen the latest version of it. It's they've been working really hard on it for the last 9 months or so, and before that it was a year and a half getting up to the interim version that was released last September 11th. So that's kind of what I wanted to touch base on. And one of the questions, since I think I have a moment here still, one of the things that I've done is I've gone to a firefighters convention and set up a table there. And for the most part, you either get funny looks or people, if you approach them, people will talk. The firefighters will talk. And I was actually astounded. One of the couple of people said, well, gee, isn't it so far in the past? Why do we keep dwelling on this? And I said, so I came up with a phrase that kind of resonated and sticks pretty well and can be used in other venues. And I say, well, to these firefighters, imagine you're a firefighter. Imagine you're at the scene of an arson. Imagine a sniper takes down one of your guys. When are you going to stop looking for the shooter? And, that kind of like stops him. And I actually ran another outreach campaign. It was called Occupy Building 7. It was Zuccotti Park for the Occupy movement, of course, is located in the shadows of where the Twin Towers were. And so about 3 or 4 blocks away is where Building 7, the new Building 7 is. And so we organized a Occupy Building 7 event. And we were hoping to have lots of people. We ended up with a relatively small group. Quite boisterous, though. And we came up with a slogan that worked pretty well on the second day. The first day we had drummers, and that kind of gave us some presence. But we had a chant that one side would call Building 7 is a lie, and the other side would say that is why we occupy. And we got a lot of good response from that. And when we got to the Building 7, it was blocked off. We couldn't get near it. The police apparently knew that we were coming. Since there was a website dedicated to it, it's not surprising. And I used that in talking to the police, which I'm usually the liaison for doing things like that, I used that comment about imagine you're a firefighter, imagine it's an arson, imagine your colleague is taken down by a sniper wanting to stop looking for the shooter. You can just see that they get it, right? And they also, that particular event, you start asking them, well, you were there at 9/11, weren't you? And, well, you lost friends, didn't you? Yeah. And so they knew. They know. And there's an article on the AE911Truth.org website about that. So they know. And as a matter of fact, as we relay in the article, the police actually made sure that we stayed together and that we were, in fact, some people said, "Oh no, they're corralling us and keeping." No, they were actually making us look much more like a force. They were corralling us, and they were walking alongside of us as if we were being escorted. And some people didn't like it because they thought we were being, constrained in. But they were actually walking with us, I'm convinced. And the other people were asked for information by the police. And they have all those, and it's not like it's a subversive material that they won't get anywhere else because they go online. That's where it is. It's a published document. So there's actually a lot of interest. They can't talk, and so I said that's why I'm talking for you. So that it went over pretty well, I thought. And so bringing those kinds of outreach, those ways of doing outreach is what I'm hoping to do with Netroots. Whether we're inside, I'll be inside because I've actually bought a ticket or pass to go into the convention because I want to go see some of the stuff that they're going to do. But I also want to do some of the other outreach activities that I think are very, very important. And I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Wayne, we're almost out of time. We got about 15, 20 seconds left. Go ahead and plug the website and anything else one more time that you want.
Okay. The website for the Netroots Nation is letthearchitectsin.org. LET-THE-architects-in.org. And then, of course, there's the main website, AE911Truth.org.
Wayne, thanks a lot for coming on. We're out of time. I appreciate it, man. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight. I will see you again all Sunday. Winston Smith's coming on 5 to 7. Anonymous, This Thing with Google, and more.